morning. It's March 31st, and this is To My Liberal Friends. Well, the big political news today is the indictment of former President Donald Trump. The Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, has decided to roll the dice and hinge his career on getting conviction. He's doing this despite the fact that the crime that Trump is being accused of would normally be considered a misdemeanor. Both the United States Justice Department and the Federal Election Commission have looked at the situation and passed on prosecuting. As anyone who has listened to this podcast knows, I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump. I wish he would go away and not run for president in 2024. I think there are much better candidates out there to take on Joe Biden or any other Democrat that should be in the race. But Trump is in the race, and this only enrages his avid supporters and rallies them to his cause. Despite not being a fan of Donald Trump, I believe these charges are based entirely on a political vendetta and not the actual law. We've not seen the full affidavit for the indictment yet, but anyone who understands the law knows that a district attorney can normally get an indictment for anything he wants. The reason for this is he is the only one presenting facts to the grand jury. There's no defense attorneys present, and the jury only hears one side. And despite Nancy Pelosi saying that Donald Trump will have an opportunity to prove his innocence, her lack of knowledge of the criminal justice system is appalling. Under our constitutional system, someone charged with a crime is innocent until the government or the prosecutors can prove them guilty. Now, nobody's disputing that Donald Trump had sex with Stormy Daniels, a porn star, and more than likely many other women. His defense will be that if the money was paid to these women, it was to keep them from going public so as not to embarrass him in front of his wife. District Attorney Bragg will somehow try to bring the nexus that this was a campaign violation. That's his whole purpose in paying the hush money, was to help his campaign during the 2016 election. And that's going to be difficult to prove if the defendant says that's not the reason he paid the money. The lead witness for the government will be Michael Cohen, a former lawyer who represented Donald Trump. Cohen was known as Trump's fixer. Well, Michael Cohen cut a deal with the prosecution by naming Trump as complicit in crimes that he committed. According to Cohen's testimony, he made these hush money payments at the direction of individual one, which we now know as Donald Trump. He may be correct in that statement, but it still does not prove the crime that District Attorney Bragg is trying to convict Trump on. What Cohen was convicted of was tax fraud and other crimes, and that's why he received a 3-year sentence from the judge in his trial. Not exactly a reliable witness in this case. In Cohen's plea agreement, he admitted to concealing more than $4 million in personal income from the IRS and making false statements to a federally insured financial institution in connection with a $500,000 home equity loan. And in 2016, he made these $280,000 payments to 2 women, allegedly to silence them about affairs they'd have with Donald Trump. Now, if you listen to legal experts, the vast majority question whether or not the charges being made against former President Trump can be proven. The key charge here is whether or not Trump paid these women, through Michael Cohen, to assist his campaign. And that's a very difficult thing to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And I should point out that paying hush money payments is not illegal. Moving forward with the indictment, prosecutors have to decide whether to charge Trump with falsifying business records of the Trump Organization and then prove that somehow that reimbursement was payment to Michael Cohen. Cohen has admitted that he paid the money to Stormy Daniels, but once again, falsifying business records is only a misdemeanor in New York, not a felony. Where Bragg is trying to bootstrap this whole thing into a felony charge is if he charges him with falsifying business records in the first degree for falsifying a record with the intent to commit another crime or to aid or conceal another crime, which in this case could be a violation of the law. It would be considered a Class C felony and could carry a sentence of maximum of 1 year and as much as 4 years. But to prove that case, the prosecutors would need to show that Trump intended to commit a crime. And once again, I want to point out the Justice Department and the FEC passed on making this charge. As I've said, this is more about politics than anything else. As much as I would like Donald Trump to fade into the woodwork, I think the Democrats have got themselves out on a limb that might get cut off with them on it. This will only enthuse his most avid supporters and rally them to Trump's cause. My final comment on this today is I do not think Donald Trump can get a fair trial in the city of New York. This is a heavily Democratic city with much animosity toward Trump. I don't know how you can find a panel of jury members who can say they don't know what this case is about. It's been all over the media. Just as I would say, I don't think if you tried this case where I now live in St. George, Utah, you could get a conviction. To those that detest Donald Trump, they're rallying outside the courthouse and their friends in the media and in Congress are cheering Alvin Bragg on. But if Bragg shoots the arrow and misses the target, this could all blow up in the face of the Democrats and make Donald Trump a martyr in the eyes of his fans. Trump's going to be arraigned early next week, and some Democrats are just jumping with glee to get the mugshot. It might be short-lived joy if Bragg fails to get the conviction. But make no mistake, this is all about politics and nothing else. It's been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening. Recommend it to your friends and hit the subscribe button.